just as proof of how this method can work, take a look in my Phantom wallet. I have just peaked over 6 figures sitting there in my Phantom wallet, not through trading, but by deving. If you follow this video, I'm going to show you the simple method that I used so that I could peak that 6 figures. Follow along. This video is for educational purposes only. I am not a financial advisor. Your capital is still at risk. I'm just here to explain how the process works. All right, coming up soon, we've got the live demonstration, but first let's take a look at this chart. Now, one thing that this chart shows us is that truly the Memecoin game can be a game of patience. I mean, look at this chart here. There's just this really long period of inactivity before this massive spike up. And, you know, is it the case? Are you going to have the patience to do that? But there's also that constant fear of like, well, okay, what if the dev pulls the rug on us? Because that can happen at any point. And it's never, ever consistent. Some devs let them run for ages or forever. Some devs let them run for, you know, a day, 2 days, a week. Sometimes you never know. So what are we going to do to make sure that our money comes in a bit more consistently? So when we have a look at, say, some of these traders here, we might notice that the money does not always come in super consistently. You know, even though it's all in the green, it's not always, you know, a smooth times. So sometimes the profit is tiny, sometimes it's massive, but how do we make it so that our profits are always a little bit more consistent? Well, we can use a site like createcoin.fun. This is a site that allows us to dev our own coin using a bit of Solana on the Meteora market with no coding required. That is key. That's really impressive. The fact that we don't have to do any coding, we only have to push a few buttons, we just need a bit of Solana, and then we're good to go. Okay, this is what makes this platform great for deving coins. Okay, so that remember, you don't need to know how to code, so don't be afraid of that. All you need to do is click a few buttons and have a bit of Sol in your Phantom wallet. Now, this here that we're looking at right now is the pump market, and though there are a few that do break through, most of the coins don't get past much more than a K in terms of their market cap, and the reason for that is that the pump market is really overcrowded. There's just so many coins just bursting out of the walls all of the time. You know, there's no real way of getting through all that noise, and also there's way more fees, and even then the market itself does put restrictions on the market caps as well. So switching to dynamic on Axiom, we can have a look at the Meteora market, and you'll notice it's a completely different story. There are many here in the hundreds of Ks. There are several in the billions. Okay, I've seen hundreds of millions quite frequently, billions, and definitely in the hundreds of Ks. So we can use that market to our advantage. First things first, we need to get our wallet connected. You can see here I've got just over $100 of Solana in my wallet. Click the connect wallet button, click Phantom, done. Easy as that. Now, typical use of this platform is you would create your own meme coin from scratch. You give it a name and a token symbol and an image, and you know, that's really fun. And you know, you can do that if you want, just to say that you have a coin, but really that's not the method that we are going to use because it's not quite as effective. We are instead going to use the copy trending feature. Now, this is something that createcoin.fun has that allows you to find a coin that's already trending on pump. So already it is done very well under worse market conditions, and then we can just take it over to Meteora and use it in better market conditions. That is a secret sauce ability that createcoin.fun has. Okay, that is one of the key factors that makes this method work. So you can see you've got names, you've got the market caps, and you've got when they were last paired, so you can use that information to make the decision that you want to make. Any of these are good, to be honest. You know, I could pick any one of these, and for the sake of how long we're going to be running these coins, it doesn't really matter because we can pick any one and we will make profit. So let's do Mecha Chameleon because I've been playing that recently and it's quite fun. So let's do that. We are going to do that. Now, initially you get this request blocked button here, so make sure you click through that. So you've got to, you know, confirm and tick the box and confirm. This is a perfectly normal part of this process. Do not worry, I do this every single time, and this is what allows us to create the token. Here we go. So we now have our token created, but what we need to do is put a bit of Solana behind the token. Now, what we do there is we simply take some of the Solana that's in our Phantom wallet, put it behind the token, and that's the initial investment that gets it onto the market. So what we need to do is not worry about any of this information on here except for the amount of Sol. Now, I've already done a lot of the experimenting for you, so you don't need to and ah too much about how much Sol to put into a coin. So I would go with 0.2. That's what's worked for me for a long time now, and I recommend it especially if you're doing it for your first time. I recommend you use 0.2 Sol as well, especially if you are just operating on roughly $100 worth of Solana, you know, given the rough pricing, then that's a good amount to go with. So here is our coin. It has been created. It is on market in a few moments, but first, before we have a look, so you see our estimated value is just under $15. That will change soon, but what we need to do before we have a look on Deck Screener is hit the lightning bolt and boost our token. So what this does is it launches us to the top of DEX Screener's trending list. Now, this is the final compounding effect that makes the method work, okay? So it costs 0.25 Sol, but on top of already being in a more favorable market, already using a coin that has hype behind it, and boosting ourselves to the top of the trending list, we are going to make sure that our coin is hot right off the gate. There'll be plenty of trading and plenty of money going into that coin. Okay, so let's hit that and confirm that transaction. Once we have done that, we will take a quick look on DEX Screener and we will see how the coin performs. Let me just switch up to full screen here. Okay, so on DEX Screener, here we go. We can now see, here's from the start, and immediate kickoff will show us, bang, straight away, we have got 1.6k market cap, 2.7, that is excellent acceleration. Look at our liquidity, right? We're at 2k liquidity. This is fantastic. Now, I'm just going to let this run, and in the meantime, I'm going to talk to you about what I do with these videos. So one of the things I like to do with these videos is I like to give away half of what I make on each of these videos. So if you leave a like, subscribe, and a comment, I will put you into a prize draw where you could win half of what I make in this video. That's half the profit, okay? Now let's switch over to create coin again in a moment, but just looking at these final things here, fantastic numbers, 3.5 on that market cap. So I've hit refresh on the pools here. So let's have a look at what that 14.97 turns into. Remember, just under $15. Let's see. And we've only been running this for as long as you've seen it. So let's see how much that money has amplified. You know, what have we gained today? 1.18k. Guys, that is fantastic. So we've turned $15 into $1,000 very quickly. Now, let's remove that liquidity. So we are going to take 100% of that liquidity. We are going to put it into our pockets, and that $100 will transform something fierce. So we've done that now. All that money's ours. Let's have a look at the coin in our Phantom wallet. $1,184, guys. It is that simple. Get on this method.